Hey folks, long time no see. I got the Shemple that I promised a little while back. So I've got here a donor Game Boy, Game Boy. um, Unfortunately, I'm just out of stock ones, so I'm at the point where I'm taking apart previous builds. But it should be fine. Unfortunately, it means I am going to skip some of the power usage tests because I just don't have a working front board anymore. I kind of cleaned up a lot of my stuffs, and that's gone. Anyway, so let's take a look at what we've got here. This is mostly new. This is a sample, not final. Though unlike the GBA I just did a video on, this is probably a lot closer to final because it's using most of an existing kit. There are some new things. I'm not 100% sure when this is coming out or any of the details like that, but we'll be able to figure it out. And I'll throw more details in the description per usual. But anyway, first thing we've got a laminated Q5 display. So this is the same display that Funnyplaying has been using in a lot of their DMG kits, so shouldn't be anything new here. The only real difference is, well, now the lens is joined to the LCD. The kit itself, I didn't look it up. I should have. I'm fairly certain this is like this is a retail kit that they're already selling, that they're already using, and the only new thing here is the fact that the LCD is bonded to the glass. But just in case, the model number on this specific board here is IFPQ5 V1.3. I know Funnyplaying has a new hardware engineer, so I don't know if this is a result of their new hardware engineer. I think this is just the old kit rebundled, but then again, that does look like a new FPGA there. Let's see if I can get the lighting right. No, that's not happening. I don't know what part this is. Oh, actually, does that help? There you go. Now you can make it out. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I'm getting lost in the weeds. The new thing here is the front board. You might notice it has a Type-C port on it. This has... Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, yes. I don't know what this is. This has rechargeable battery support, so this should replace any of the battery mods. Unfortunately, they didn't send me a battery with this kit. If you order one, it's gonna come with a battery. Mine didn't, just because sample goof. But I have on my desk here a whole pile of batteries, and wow, that one's even labeled Funnyplaying, and I bet that's the correct connector. Yeah, that looks right. So hopefully this is charged. It's not the right size, but it's smaller than the retail one will be, so it should work for our purposes here. Anyway, let's go ahead and... oh, one more part. I forgot about that. Of course, because it's laminated, there's a new shell here. Also, a sample. Though, again, I'm pretty sure this one's a lot closer to final than the GBA. Let me get this open. I did not expect that to be sealed. I don't know if this is a retail color. I'm guessing it is. Because they did the printing on it, and they wouldn't have done the printing for a test mold. Oops. My light's falling over. So like a lot of their previous shells, the battery compartment is flat. These things, it's a working Game Boy. Just setting a baseline. The Game Boys usually have little ridges in here to kind of keep the batteries wrangled, but in this particular case, this thing is designed, or rather intended to be used with a lithium battery, so the flat bottom helps with that. But otherwise, it looks to be pretty much the same as their other kit. Oh, wait, that's different. But that makes sense because it's got Type-C. So the regular, oh, those silly gooses. I don't know why they put the USB-C cutout in the thing, but then they didn't bother changing the label on the definitely not going to be contrast once we've got this assembled knob. That's just silly. It's such an easy thing to do. But otherwise, looks pretty much like you'd expect. The assembly is, of course, modified for the laminated screen. Normally you should test these things first before installing, but in this particular case, I might just install it anyway because I'm not returning this regardless of whether it's broken or not. But yeah, anyway, I'm rambling. I'm sorry, I'm bad at this. Ooh, wait, hang on. There's one more thing I want to look at. I'm going to dump out the little baggie of parts here. There's a port cover, but there's also plugs. If you don't want to use Type-C, I guess. It's an interference fit, and it's kind of weird that they didn't bother matching the texture. Like, they're color matched, but there's a kind of satin finish on the shell, whereas it's not quite glossy, but much closer to glossy on the plug. I don't know. That's weird, but it is what it is. I suppose if you want to use the plug and not have the Type-C cut out, probably glue that in. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's get on with this. We need, what is this? That's all GIS. How convenient. There's a light pipe. I'm not 100% sure what this is for, because DMGs typically don't have a light pipe. I wonder if maybe they used surface mount LEDs on the new front board, and so the light pipe is just the only real way to get light to the hole. Maybe there's multiple LEDs. Oh, no, just the one, but it is surface mount. That looks like, I see 4 leads, so it's probably an RGB LED, so it probably has like charge indicator and whatnot. All right, I'm just gonna pull that off right there. And whoopsie doodle. I forgot I had to desolder some things. Oh, but you know what? We need a speaker anyway, so let's get that too. As soon as this is heated up. The kit that I'm uninstalling right now is one of those TV out kits. And so it works by putting a composite video signal out over the link port. Ideally, it doesn't affect the link port when not in use, but in practice it's, well, I don't know. I never actually tried it. I don't have a DMG compatible link cable. Oh, I forgot the speaker. Yeah. I think I can get this out. Oh no, the wires are pinched. That's not gonna work. I'm just gonna take a shortcut that I definitely won't regret. There we go. Probably best to take this apart properly, but I'm just gonna set this aside because, well, it's a perfectly good kit. Okay. Cool. Three, four. All right. I don't know what the heck happened to this thing, but the motherboard coating is not supposed to come off like that. But I tested it and it worked, so let's call it good. Good. This one has a has shielding already. Where is my power switch? Oh, we should use the screws that come with it, shouldn't we? Oh no, does this come with 3 different types of screws though? All right, so we've got 4, 5, 6 long ones. Those are probably for the outside because they're the Y screws. I've got 2 extra short, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And how many of those actually go through here? All but 1. 9. That's probably not right. It's probably 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8. That makes sense. So, okay, these are all for the front. I don't know what these 2 little shorty ones are for. But we're missing 2 screws. So I'm just gonna reuse some of the original ones. So we need 2 for the headphone jack, and then 2 for the board. Wait a sec. Okay, so these 4 shield screws are the same as these 2 short ones. So I'm wondering if maybe it's better to just install 2 on the shield so you have all the proper screws. Or at least on the inside, it really doesn't matter, just reuse the screws. Sometimes, and this is especially true for Funnyplaying, sometimes the replacement aftermarket shell has shallower screw posts than the OEM console did, so installing the wrong screws could lead to damage to the shell itself. You know, you get a little bump on the outside of the shell, discolors the plastic a little, etc., etc. Nothing good comes from that. Okay. Wait. All right, I really am just going to install this before testing it. Really don't recommend that, but there is only one destination here. Something, do as I say, not as I do. And a touch sensor. Okay, so this looks a lot like it'll plug into a Game Boy Pocket, which makes sense. The Game Boy Pocket and the original Game Boy kits are pretty much the same. I just know that typically the DMG ones are a little bit more custom. Like, for example, on the kit I just removed, it just uses a regular flat flex instead of the Game Boy Pocket pitch connector. But the reason I'm talking about it is because there's a touch sensor that I don't think makes sense in this install because it already has the rocker rotary encoder on it. But there's also a power test pad on, well, not test pad, it's a solder point on here that I'm fairly confident we don't need to connect. I am gonna go ahead and stick the touch sensor down though. I want to see if it works, and I don't want to have to take it apart to find out. Because we're just gonna do full steam ahead with the install and hope for the best. Fairly certain that is intended to go about there. I've got new buttons. What the heck? Is that not for an original Game Boy? If not for Game Boy, why Game Boy shaped? Because that's not for Game Boy. What the hell? Bonus points to whoever tells me what this is from. But, Hunch says Super Nintendo controller, but I'm not actually sure. Oh, this thing has LEDs too. I did not realize that. So there's these LEDs, 4 by the D-pad, 2 by A, 2 by B, 2 by start, 2 by, well, vice versa. I did not know that. I already had a D-pad. Good Lord. Okay. I already had a membrane set aside and I didn't even realize. Okay, I just had the wrong one on my desk. That's cool. Cool. Let's just get this stupid speaker soldered up. Depending on your persuasion, unfortunately or fortunately, soldering is required for the speaker. If you are not of the soldering type, sorry, bad news for you. That is really easy to install though if it's like your first time soldering. But also you could just join the enlightened crowd and not use audio, because that's the best way to play anyway. Wow, I didn't set aside the other membranes though. I'm on a roll, hey? This is kind of wild. I wonder what this is supposed to be for. There's this little spring connector. I would assume battery, but it doesn't line up with the battery compartment. It's it hits right about here-ish. I hope that doesn't need to be insulated. It's weird. I will inquire and make a pinned comment or throw something in the description, however. Or maybe Funnyplaying will have documentation out for this thing by the time this video goes up. All right, and so like usual, because we're threading metal into plastic, it doesn't need to be tightened by the hand of God. You just tighten it until it's snug and then back it up a quarter turn. It'll be perfect. You won't crack any screw posts, you won't strip any screw posts. You won't get weird lumps. Oh, we're gonna unstick that because that is not the right place. And the cable doesn't quite make it I'll figure that out in just a minute. Because my kit started ripping. Hopefully I didn't just destroy it. We'll find out. All right. That's why you test things beforehand. Because now if it doesn't work, I'll never know if it was a defect or if it was me handling it like I usually do. All right. These kits have always confounded me because this connector on the DMG side, I'm pretty sure it's bidirectional, which is you could do pins up or pins down. It doesn't matter because it's just a one-to-one cable, so both sides are going to be the same orientation. But almost all of the instructions for all the kits out there show it pins down, but OEM is pins up, and it's just weird to me that, I don't know. It looks like this connector is the same, so again, it shouldn't matter. But it is on the other side, which is kind of weird. I feel like it would be easier if it was on the bottom instead of on the top. Ooh. All right. We should be good to go for testing. Let's try batteries first, and then we'll try a rechargeable and see how that works. Off to a great start. It might be my batteries, because for whatever reason, the nubbins are really recessed on these things. And for whatever reason, nickel metal hydrides are also somewhat recessed compared to normal AA's. And I don't keep the normal ones around because I have the rechargeable ones. Switched off. There's my battery. Oh wow, that's right under the cutout for the one of the spring terminals. That should make it nice and easy. Except it's still not working. But it's entirely possible this battery is dead. Where is... ¿Dónde está? I got a blue light. and it's pulling almost an amp, so it's either charging or about to combust. It's probably charging. But it's still not booting. So we're gonna leave this for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes, and we'll circle back. RTFM. Ta-da! The problem is that spring connector needs to be sprung, or it doesn't work. Also, I 100% should have looked this up before starting the video, because not only does Funnyplaying already have documentation out there for this kit, they published documentation at the end of August. So, yeah. I'm going to use my original screws again. They are the exact same length, but my original screws are JIS instead of tri-point. All right, that's on me. This is totally not a sample. This is just retail. You can just buy it right now. And I am just a buffoon. But that's okay. You guys already knew that. All right. Still nothing with the original batteries. I don't want to say it's not compatible with the original batteries. I just don't trust that my batteries are making good contact. So let's break out ye old power supply. Try this instead. Give me that quick step. Yeah, 5.1 volts sounds about right. Huh. No, it's not working. But it is pulling 30 milliamps. That's weird. Maybe the Game Boy itself is booting, but this kit is not. Okay. The install documentation that I'm looking at right now that definitely exists and Funnyplaying already published shows the console working with 4 AA's. So I'm pretty sure it's supposed to work with 4 AA's. They also recommend feeding this cable through the hole and installing it before you screw the back down so that you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing right now. But I'm a little stubborn. And I would rather spend 20 minutes trying to do this the quick way instead of spending 2 minutes taking it apart and doing it the proper way. One moment. Yeah, definitely should have read instructions. Look at that. Now the battery is magically installed. It's definitely the correct battery. You can't tell that it's the wrong size and all that. Oh, no. Okay. So, unfortunately, the port is a little bit recessed and doesn't work with every cable. If you've got like one of them fancy Apple cables, I bet it'll be just fine. This cable is, I have no idea. I think it came with my Kindle. That one fits quite a bit better though. But good enough. All right. So, as per the instructions that I definitely read before making this video and not just right now when I paused in the middle of it, how the power situation works is this battery is connected to the front board, and the front board provides power to the back board via the ground connection through the ribbon, and then the positive battery connection right here with the spring contacts. So when you're testing this thing, doing the initial install, instead of doing what I did, which is just put the whole damn thing together and then figure it out from there, when you're doing the test, you put batteries in the console, normal, regular AA batteries, and these will power the backboard. That's the 30 milliamps that I was seeing. And you put this battery in the front board, and that will power the front board, because until you have the things sandwiched together, they're not sharing power. They'll be on separate power circuits. So you need both to test it. Or you assemble it, and now you just use rechargeable, and then you don't need to put any batteries in there. Okay. So let's see. I probably should have finished reading the instructions while I was there, hey? There we go. All right. So we'll do a long press to open up the menu. I don't have the same options that the instructions say I'm supposed to have, which is kind of confusing because I don't know how to deal with that. The touch sensor doesn't seem to do anything when installed in this DMG kit, which I guess makes sense. The touch sensor is probably overridden by this thing. It's a little recessed, and it's also rubbing against the shell, so it's kind of hard to use. So the first option, BRT, should be brightness, and that's indeed what it looks like. Got 15 levels. Kind of arbitrary, but sure. I like that Funnyplaying has started using a dimming adjustment so that when you crank the brightness up and down, it like kind of fades instead of just instantly snaps. It's a nice little touch. I like it. Color, I guess we've got 30 some odd preset palettes to choose from. Yeah. Probably pick the one you want and leave it there. I like that one. DSP is... Ooh. I have no idea what that's doing. Let's see what the instructions say. It says 1 equals 3 pixels, 2 equals 4 clear. Oh, come on. Wait a second. That's a different menu. Oh, short press. Ah, that's what I was looking for. I'm genuinely not sure what this is doing. It looks like it's changing between 2 pixel grid modes. That's weird. Okay. FRM on or off. This is frame blending. So I'll circle back to that. Next, we want XST so that we can move the display to the correct portion of the laminated lens. In my case, 23 looks good, and YST should be Y. Nope, gotta go the other way. There we go. I feel better about it. Negative 72 looks good. All right, so that was a short press of the wheel, and we do a long press to close it. And if we do a long press to open it, we get a second menu here. LDB, adjust the light brightness from 1 to 15 gears. Okay, sure. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Light brightness. Oh, LEDs. Ha. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Now I can see them. That makes sense. BRH is change the type of lighting. Unfortunately, I have the wrong shell for this. It looks like 0 is static, 1 is pulse fast, 2 is pulse slow, 3 is even slower pulsing, 4 is probably even slower pulsing, yep, and 5 is slowest. Yep, that's exactly what that is. STA, I don't know. They just kind of skip that in the instructions. There are 4 options. I don't know what any of them do. I don't see anything changing. I'm going to assume my battery is low based off that LED barely being visible, so we're going to plug it in for now. Hopefully it supports play and charge. Oop. Oh, man. STP, on the other hand, adjusts the color and depth of each button independently. Okay. It looks like it's changing the colors of all the buttons. Sure, let's go with that. The 0 position is for synchronously adjusting the color of all keys. The 1 position is for adjusting the color of the direction keys on the upper right. Oh, okay. I see what's going on. So you set STP to which button you want to adjust, which LED you want to adjust. And then the H and the S, I'm guessing hue and chroma, or luminance. How high does that go? Probably 360. Yeah. And you can adjust this, and then, oh, go back. You can change, yeah, there you go. Yeah, so you set each one individually and you just cycle through STP on each of them. But I'm gonna roll that back. Set that to 0 because I don't much care about adjusting them individually. And I still have no idea what STA is. Okay, I do have audio. Okay. Let's reset this. And now we're gonna go into ZAS, one of my favorite test games here. And we'll talk about the frame blending. So in this specific game, this is one of the worst offenders. I'm just gonna go ahead and pause it. The original Game Boy, and many subsequent models for that matter, didn't really have a way of doing transparency in hardware. So how devs would get around that is they would just flicker an object on and off as quick as possible, and then the horrendous pixel response of the original screen would just kind of blur things together and result in a nice transparency effect. Modern LCD kits, you just see flickering instead. So that's where frame blending comes into play. So I don't know how well it's coming out on screen, but with it off, it's nice and flickery because that's exactly what this game does. And with it on, everything is nice and solid. And I'll close that out and you can see it plays very nicely. I am not into this pixel. I don't know why there's 4 options for what looks like 2 options. Because it looks like 2 and 4 do the same thing, and then 3 and 1 do the same thing. That's weird. But there you go. Maybe you can see that a little bit better with that pixel grid mode. It's kind of hard to make out on screen. Trust me, the effect is very obvious in person. But because of how the frame blending works, in theory, it does introduce some latency. So if you want to min-max, if it's going to bother you, turn it off unless you need it. But realistically, I personally think it's fine. Just leave it on all the time. The only exception are probably some games. There might be some flickering here and there in some games that isn't intended. And FRM might interfere with that. All right, I gotta stop. I'll keep playing this game otherwise. But I don't know. Everything looks good. I'm not seeing any weird frame dropping or judder like I did on the GBA kit. So that really does lend credence to the fact that this is probably not, this is probably not the same new engineer's work that did the GBA stuff, because I would imagine that that weird frame issue, that mismatch, that desync would be present on this as well, because this thing should use the same refresh rate as the GBA, both of which are not the same refresh rate that these screens are expecting. I don't know how they're working around that. These screens should be expecting 60 hertz signals, whereas Game Boys are like 59.7. It's close enough that you can usually just kind of force it and hope for the best. If I had to guess, that's exactly what they're doing. Maybe that other screen is not happy with that, but this seems fine. I don't know. I think it's good. I like the laminated. It looks good. And don't mind the rattling, like I said. Wrong battery. But that's not the kit's fault. Oop, that wasn't it. I don't actually know how to play this game. Oh no, how am I supposed to deal with that? Oh, I missed. Oh, I missed. How awful. Anyway, that's enough of that. I don't know. Oops. You can see the cable doesn't quite fit if it's popping out so easily. Let me grab something. Hang on. I'm willing to bet this is the way to go. Oh yeah, that fits nicely within the cutout. So if you're an Apple user and you've purchased something within the last few years, it probably came with one of these cables. And this cable is perfect for many things, but this especially. This is one of the braided ones. This one specifically came with my AirPods, I think. And look at that. Nice and sturdy. Not just coming out because I'm knocking the darn thing. But I think that's about all I've got. Sorry, I skipped many of the tests that I usually do. I think this thing in particular, it's, you know, it's the same hardware that they've used previously, so I expect the power usage to be pretty much the same as well. It's the exact same screen. It is a very similar looking kit, and the front board itself is so different that I can't really do a one-to-one test, because I can't run this console off these batteries anymore if I wanted to. I mean, that's not to say I can't hijack into the front board with my power supply and power it that way. Or just like, yes, bud, I hear you. Or just like cut these wires and, you know, feed it power that way. But I'm not going to do that. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm sure the LEDs use extra power. If you're not into that, turn them off. The only function they serve is cosmetic, so it's not that big of a surprise. But anyway, I think that's about all I've got. I can't believe it's not butter. I can't believe I didn't remove that. One thing I would like to point out, one of my biggest complaints, this has been bothering me the whole time I've been sitting here and I haven't brought it up yet. This gap right here. I don't understand how it's even possible that this gap exists, because it's only in this corner. The problem is that these two radii do not match. The lens uses a wider arc than the shell. I don't know. I don't understand how that's possible. The other three corners are fine. It's just this one that's messed up. I don't know if the glass manufacturer cut the glass wrong or if they're just like using pre-made stock or something. I don't know. I hate this though. Like this is such a, it's so ugly and there's nothing I can do about it. That's what bothers me, because like any other kit, I could just buy a different lens and it'll be fine. I can just use one of the Cloud Game Store lenses and it'll be great. but this is laminated. That's not how that works. So hopefully they can fix this with future iterations, but if not, I mean, it's not the worst. Like, there are some other aftermarket third-party housings, some of them made in alternate materials, that have even worse gaps. But I still don't like it. It's kind of gross. Other than that, I don't know. Seems pretty good. Funnyplaying usually does a pretty good job with their shells, and I have no real complaints with this thing other than that corner. The molding is nice and even, the texture is nice and even, all the color, or the labels are good. Oh, I guess that leads me to my other complaint here. The wheel is just, like, it's just barely getting snagged. You can see it's not resetting the way it's supposed to, so it's kind of annoying to use. It's off enough that it's annoying to use, but it's not off enough to actually make it not function. I'd like to see that improve. Like, this shell is designed custom for this kit. There's no reason they can't just make this opening just a skosh larger. How I would fix this is I would take this apart, remove all 14 fucking screws so I can get the front board out, and then just file that down just a hair, just on the upside of the wheel where it makes contact with the shell. And that'll solve the problem. Or Funnyplaying, they just make this hole just a little bit bigger. Second and third complaint with this contrast opening is, why is it called contrast? This is not contrast. They could have just left it unlabeled. I think that would have been the ideal option, but they decided to label it. Third, this might actually just be a problem with my specific shell, but if you look at the left and right sides, the right side is angled and the left side is not, and I don't understand why. I kind of want to pull out my OEM one and compare it, but I'm pretty sure I filed this one out, so that's a bad comparison. But the OEM one, at least, I mean, it looks kind of similar, but different? I don't know. You be the judge. It's a nitpick. It doesn't really matter. It's fine. The other thing they should have done, they should have updated this power label right here, because, you know what? There shouldn't even be an opening here, because this won't work. If this doesn't work off AA batteries, this DC jack won't work either. I don't have a compatible cable to test that with, however, and I'm not willing to take this apart and try soldering up some bodge wires and do it the hard way. But yeah, you know, my biggest problems are nitpicks, so take that how you will. If your biggest problem is not a problem at all, then, you know, that's a good day, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty good. If you want a laminated kit, I think this is your only option for the original Game Boy. It's a pretty decent option. Again, you know, nitpicks, but if you've watched my video, at the very least, you know what you're getting into. And if you haven't watched my video, then it doesn't matter what I say, because you're not going to hear it anyway. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. It's weird that there's no labeling here on OEM Game Boys. It's molded into the shell, like all the text and model info. I don't really mind that it's blank, but it just feels weird. Like, I feel like this console, this shell, should come with a sticker for this and for the serial number cut out. There's nothing stopping me from transferring my serial number over. In fact, let's do that. would still be nice if it came with one. I think I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I need a knife though. Here's one. I wish I had a regular knife handy though. That would be a little bit easier. All right. This is not going very well. We're just gonna grip it and rip it and hope for the best. That was not the way to do that. But it's okay. Ta-da! I messed up this corner. I'm probably gonna have to peel it and redo the adhesive, but that's okay. I'll do that later. This is, I've already rambled on long enough. It's time to get out of here. So yeah, that's about all I've got. Thanks to Retro Game Repair Shop for sending this my way to check out. I will go ahead and throw links in the description to their shop if you want to see what they've got for this thing. I don't know if they have it listed yet. The fact that they just sent it to me a couple weeks ago, even though Funnyplaying has it on their site as of the end of August, I think, indicates to me that maybe they didn't get it right away. I don't know. But I will link to it in the description, and you can see for yourself exactly how much it is and decide if that value is appropriate for you. Otherwise, I personally am not the biggest fan of the original Game Boy. I think that the Game Boy Color is better in every single way. And even then, that's still not my favorite Game Boy. But anyway, so I'm a little biased against, just a little bit. All the best games are Game Boy Color or Game Boy Advance exclusives, after all. But that's just like my opinion, man. That's a bad example. I should never use mod retro stuff as an example. But yeah, it's good stuff. I think that's about all I've got. Yeah, that is the entire instruction set. It looks like I was also missing some insulation film for the back of the LCD, not just the battery itself, but the insulation film as well. I don't know that it's important for insulation itself, because I didn't use it and mine is working fine anyway. But you probably do want to use the little black stickers. There's a little one that goes on the front of the LCD and then a big one that goes on the back of the LCD. You want to use those because they'll block out extra light. If you're using a kit like this, you're probably using either a clear housing or clear buttons or both. And you probably don't want the extra light bleed from the LCD. And so that's what the stickers are for. They're to try and help with the light bleed. in my particular case, I like that extra light bleed in transparent shells. Of course, those batteries are dead. And that's a bad example because this thing just has really bright LEDs, but but you know, I like the extra light bleed. I think it's pretty cool. I don't know. I'm into it. Personal preference, but that's what it's there for. I recommend you install it if that's your prerogative. But otherwise, yeah, this is it's pretty good. Laminated screens really do look fantastic, don't they? We'll play some Tetris, how about? And then I'll end the video. You guys can critique my Tetris strategies. Oop. Oh no, I don't know what to do. Let's put her right here. D-pad feels fine. Feels like a normal DMG D-pad. I was only concerned because sometimes that gets messed up. Seems fine here though. I should have saved that long one instead of dumping it right away. You get more points if you do more rows at a time. I'm not going for a high score though, I don't really care that much. Oh man, I should have put that on the other side. Oh well. All right, so I'm doing way better than I expected. I kind of expected to be done by now. Oops. Now I'm fucking up. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I kind of expected to be done by now. Should I just finish it? I'm just gonna finish it. Because I skipped all those tests, this video is shorter than they usually end up anyway. I'll do that. And that. And that. I don't even care anymore. I don't give a gosh darn diddly. Oh, now I backed myself into a corner, though. Oh, no. I hate that. Oh, no. Oh, nuts. Oh, damn. I messed that up. I'm losing interest now. Too many mistakes have occurred, and I'm feeling bad about it. And instead of putting in the work to recover, fuck's sake. I'm tempted to just throw the game, but I keep coming back from stupid decisions. Speaking of stupid decisions, yeah, I'm done. I'm not feeling it. I have a dedicated Tetris Game Boy, and I like my dedicated Tetris Game Boy better anyhow. I like D-pads better on pockets and colors. Unrelated to any sort of weird elitism. I just genuinely like it better. Fits my fingers better. But I'm not starting this again. That's a trap. That's a trap. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Sorry for the below average effort. But it is what it is, and really you should just expect it by now. Catch you all next time. Thanks for watching. Links in the description. I'll go ahead and throw a link to Funnyplaying's last iteration of this kit if you want my video on the last iteration of the kit, and I'll throw a link to their instructions for assembly, and I'll go ahead and throw a link to Retro Game Repair Shop, their listing for this kit if you want to check it out. It will be an affiliate link. If you click that and end up purchasing, it does give me a little bit of kickback. Full disclosure. But yeah, anyway, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching. Peace.